because the water level's so high. When you're looking for people, you have to look up because they're in the tree. And then there's also corpses in trees. Point Thread Podcast, episode 124. It is July 7th.
Which is not a Wednesday.
It's not a Wednesday.
Today is a Monday.
Our guy has an anniversary coming up.
The big one.
The big one. 01.
What anniversary?
His wedding anniversary.
It's already been a year.
What
Oh, no, it goes quick.
I thought the world was supposed to implode on July 4th. I thought there was all these terrorist attacks supposed to happen. Did anything happen?
No, I told you a year ago nothing was going to happen.
I know.
I told you. Now
nothing at all. Nothing happened.
They
activated X-Rad radar and fucking flooded Texas.
There has been news reports of them finding stuff. Like I saw,
they didn't find shit. If they found some shit, there'd be
like obviously you had the Iranian sniper that lived in Texas. You had they found some Iranian missiles in California.
We confiscated 1/10 of 1,000 22 long rifle rounds.
So, there's like these news reports, and none of them are like again, if you're on the right, like if you're Donald Trump, and they arrest a dude in Texas who's Iranian and he's got a hunting rifle, you want to call Trump. Like if you're the guys, you want to call Trump and be like, "It's Iranian sniper. We got him."
He didn't have any optics or sights on his smoothbore shotgun.
Again, I don't know the details of the arrest, and maybe they did thwart something, but the reality is you don't know. When it's the left propagating propaganda, and they're trying to make everybody believe that they're trying to make everybody believe that Alligator Alcatraz is some sort of concentration camp. Or the right is creating propaganda to make you want to hate Iranians. You just don't know who's telling the truth, right? It's just interesting. But yeah, no. This is the reality. Is what most people don't realize. If you look around the world, like if you just look around the world and what's going on, even here in the United States, everything's relatively evened out. Like everything's relatively mellow. The Iranians aren't doing Iranian shit. The, Russia, and when you think about Russia and Ukraine, while people are still dying a lot.
They are. So apparently,
while people are still dying,
today, last
the lines are evening out.
More drone strikes than ever in the entirety of the war. Russia striking Kiev, and then them striking into Russia. Kiev looks like it's on fire, but I mean, you don't know. You just see this picture.
Just tell me, are the reality is even that's all propaganda that we're getting from that side?
Well, I'm getting it from Canadian Dry Prepper.
He's the worst.
He is the worst.
He's the worst.
I think if you
he is the worst.
If you prophesize and give a fall dead date and you're wrong like 3 times. You shouldn't be able to do videos
He
anymore.
is the worst. That guy has destroyed the world like 19 times, but with nuclear weapons. That guy is the worst.
He's like, as soon as Kiev is about to fall, Poland's ready to roll in. What's fucking Poland's military look like?
Well, Poland, when you look at like the NATO countries, most of the NATO countries, so Latvia. When you look at NATO countries, most of the NATO countries that were dominated by the Soviet Union, like, they're ready. Like, I would rather have, the truth is...
So just because of that history, they want that
I
fight.
would rather have Polish troops to my right than French troops.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Well, not because
How many French troops are there?
Not because historically, not because...
Yeah, we're not talking Legion.
We're just talking...
We're talking
from a perspective of they understand what the fight is. When you look at other NATO countries, like even Germany, if you look at I would rather have the Poles than German troops, because the Poles are both politically and mentally engaged in some sort of idea that the Russians are a problem. None of the other NATO countries are doing that. So
in France, just busy butt fucking each other. Like, aren't they known for that? Isn't that what happens in France?
I don't know. Crazy stuff happens in France. It's France.
I think France is blatantly homosexual. Their military, and their
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
And the real military is the Legion.
Well, the real military for
And what percentage of the French Foreign Legion is French?
it's the real
1%.
The real military's always been the Legion for France, but the problem for France is a lot of those guys were Ukrainians.
Oh, yeah, and they're gone now
in Ukraine fight. They're in Ukraine fighting.
Did you see the Redcoats, the AI video of the Redcoats? We just got here. We're only gonna be here a little while. We're gonna overthrow these guys. And he's like, holy shit, we've been here 8 years. These guys really hate the idea of taxes. And they're like, final push. We're here at the coast. We're about to win. Oh shit, here comes the smelly French. That fucking video was awesome.
Yeah. There are a couple of
We just don't know how to beat these guys with them hiding behind trees. They won't stand in a line and let us shoot at them.
Have you seen the AI one where it's the aliens talking about landing in America?
No.
They're trying to it's kind of the same thing. They're like just talking about how crazy we are.
Yeah. Have you seen all the Bigfoot and gorilla ones?
Yeah, I've seen
those are out of control.
Yeah. So
I can't believe they're letting that shit on there. Whoever's fucking writing that.
It's good. It's good.
It is. It's very entertaining. So the world did not end. I feel like there was a lot more fireworks this year.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we went into Chattanooga,
Huh?
and we're driving back from Chattanooga Saturday night. And the entire time from Chattanooga into Nashville, you saw fireworks the whole way. And it looked like legitimate production of fireworks. And we took a wrong turn, and it's just some dude launching them in his fucking front yard.
Yeah.
Like, there's houses all around and shit. And there wasn't even anybody arresting him. It was fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, it's legal.
And then I'm looking at our local Facebook group, and there's these ladies like, do we need some kind of noise ordinance out in the county? And they're like, well, that's why it's the county. There is no noise ordinance. That's not how this works.
Yeah, get the Karens
Go
out
the
here.
fuck back where you came from. And she even said, I called the police several times and the sheriff won't respond. Yeah, because the sheriff's lighting fucking fireworks, you crazy bitch.
I think when you look at the Obama administration, or when you look at the last 12 years under Obama and that senile old man, it wasn't acceptable to be patriotic. All of that Trump being president allowed people to be patriotic. I mean, did you see the fucking show they did just in Nashville?
No. Did you see?
Out of control.
Did you see the traffic in Nashville? Did you see all the people?
Yeah.
And Amanda showed me a video of it, and it looked like it was an aerial photo. And you usually see the massive, within like a 4-way intersection or something. Dude, this was like 10 fucking city blocks of oceans of people.
Yeah.
And you didn't hear about violence. You didn't hear about fucking mass incident. You didn't hear nothing.
No.
And I said, where was that? Like 4th Avenue or somewhere. She goes, yeah, it's where all the bars are. But, bro, dude, it was out of control.
Yeah. It's just, I think people want to celebrate their country and have a good time, and they weren't able to do it before.
I like it.
Yeah, it's better. Ultimately, it's better for everybody. Though
you're not going to catch me in there, but I like it.
I
Great
love
for you guys.
I love the idea of it. When I was watching some of the videos that were coming out of for Nashville, I was like, I literally was like, it'd be really cool to be down there and see that. And then they're like, and then they lean over the balcony and you see the street, and I'm like, nah, nope, I'm not going down there.
They closed off
meat market
to zero traffic for like 10 blocks. You couldn't drive in there at all.
But pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good. So what did you do this weekend? Anything good? Shoot any guns?
Not really. Here's the problem. Here's the problem that I run into. The problem I run into is when people want to shoot guns, like when they're like, "Hey, Scully, let's go shoot guns."
I want to shoot your guns. Is what that means.
It's not only is that I want to shoot your guns, but it also means that now I'm responsible for safety, and so like whenever somebody
kind of like when you come here.
Yeah, whenever somebody comes into town and they want to shoot guns, and so people are like, "Oh, you must shoot guns all the time." I don't ever get to shoot guns. Like I might, we did do a night shoot where we shot completely at night, and I fired like 10 rounds, but then everybody needs attention, so you don't get to shoot. It's like a good example is John wanted to go fishing. He really wanted to go fishing, and so his wife, she's like, there was discussion about when that was going to happen, and then at one point John's like, it's no big deal, I just won't go. And she's like, no, you want to go fishing. Go fishing. Well, him going fishing turned into other people wanted to go fishing too.
Mm-hmm. He should have just been quiet.
And so when we got to the fishing hole, when we got to the place where we were fishing, John never touched a reel because he was he had to put bait on hooks. He had to take fish off. He never touched.
And these people are adults. Yeah. These aren't like small children.
He never touched a reel. Never got to fish at all. And there was a moment where John is walking to one of the girls to take a fish off her hook, and I'm standing there and I go, my God, it's just like me on the range. John wanted to come fish. He doesn't get to fish. I like to go shoot, and I don't get to shoot because I got to deal with everybody else's bullshit.
What'd the night shoot look like night vision and shit?
Yeah. We just had we had a PEC 2 that we were trying to zero, and then we had a PVS 17 that everybody was rotating through and shooting steel targets with. It was fun.
What's a PVS 17?
It's like a newer version of the PVS 5, so it's just smaller.
Interesting.
Yeah, 2015.
Mounted on the rifle?
Yeah, mounted straight on the rifle.
Okay.
So good times. It was fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it worked?
Oh yeah, worked good. Yeah, there's some killers out there.
Yeah.
Some of those girls can shoot.
Yeah. Well, they should, coming from that lineage.
Oh, all of them, like, let's see. Outside of Grace and, well, I probably shouldn't say their names. None of them had shot before. And yeah, none of them had shot before. And literally just putting them on the gun, like me and John were talking about having a competition where I pick a student, he picks a student, and then we went out and we were shooting AR-15s, and it just so happens that the student that was with me was just dinging him, and I'm like, oh shit, John, I guess you're gonna lose this one. And he's like, that's bullshit. You didn't do anything. I go, I did everything. So it's just fun. It was just fun.
Been training her how to shoot. And he didn't.
It was the same thing. It was the same thing when we went fishing. When we went fishing, there was two guys and two girls throwing in this pond. The girls, like, literally every time they put it in the water, boom, they would catch a fish. The dudes didn't catch shit.
Is this like a little fishing hole?
Yeah,
like,
just a little fishing hole.
Like we have, or like a
little bit bigger than what you got. Yeah.
On the property?
On property, yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys had a pond.
No, not on John's property.
Got it.
So good times. It was fun.
Cool.
What else is exciting?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Like I watched a bunch of social media this morning so I could see if anything melted down. But it's like nothing happened over this weekend, and this is when everybody was calling for terror. Yeah. Even the White House was like terror events, FBI terror events. Like I figured at least a false flag or something was going to happen and be blamed on someone else.
I think you.
Do you think that Texas is what I've been seeing? Do you think that Texas flooding?
Yep, I do.
Cloud seeding.
No, I think it's X-Rad radar. They use cloud seeding. There's a company that's remaining really silent right now. Bear was talking about it. And they use cloud seeding, but then the X-Rad radar gets turned on. And when you had all of the North Carolina, Tennessee shit, the X-Rad radar was fucking going for about 48 hours ahead of time and pulsing. And you hear a lot of people that are like, hey, I'm telling you right now, the X-Rad radar is activated. I'm having migraines. And there's people that are super sensitive to it, just like the smart meters are. And you have, like, even Bear's been talking about, you got like mainstream channels talking about X-Rad radar. Even I think S2 Underground has talked about X-Rad. And you have Forward Observer who talks about space weather and shit. And then your weather people they also talk about X-rad radar, and it actually puts a massive pulse of energy out, and I haven't seen the correlation about every time it's activated, but every time you've had mass flooding, you have had high levels of X-rad radar for 24, 48 hours, mass bursts of energy. But I don't know the other side of X-rad if it's activated where you haven't had massive flooding either.
Because I always thought cloud seeding was the fakest thing in the world. I was like,
no, they're fucking full forward admitting it and talking about it right now.
Talking about like that's what they do. And
dude, we've had it pre-Vietnam. There's an MOS in the military for weather modification. We have it on trucks. They have it in the UAE over there in Saudi Arabia. They have these massive plants, look like a massive thing out of the Transformers, and it just puts this huge fog out, and then within 24 hours it rains. And then we've been seeding since what, the 50s?
Silver cyanide.
Yeah, and it's like it goes into the cloud and they release it and it freezes it, right?
Yep.
And then from there, once it thaws, it either creates rain, and if it's cold enough, snow.
Well, the reality of what they're trying to do, and the reality of what it does do,
they can't control it.
Is they can't control it. So what it does is when you seed a cloud, so a cloud has so much moisture in it, right? When you seed a cloud, normally what happens is the environment, as the cloud's moving across the countryside, it's the environment, it's the heat that rises that releases that rain. Okay, so what happens is a cloud is going over territory and it's just releasing rain in certain spurts. When you seed a cloud, what it does is it forces the cloud to dump all the water that it's holding at the time. And that's why you have flooding, is because they can't control, the reality is, like, I don't know, let's say the federal government wanted to flood out Camden. They could seed the clouds and make the clouds drop,
but they move
all the water, right? You could seed the clouds and make the clouds drop all the water, but what effect it has on the ground, you don't know, because again, like John said, the clouds are always moving, right? So if you seed over Camden, they may be in Memphis by the time you're done and they fucking dump all their water. And the other thing too is, it's what's on the ground, right? How do you know
temperature and elevation?
How do you know what's going to flood? So it's one of those things that it's never been controllable.
When you go
it's just doable.
When you go into Nashville from here, it'll be 20 degrees hotter in Nashville because of all the concrete, the asphalt, the blacktop, lack of wind movement through the buildings and such. But yeah, I do think that it is insidious. I do, maybe accidental, but definitely man involved. I do believe that. Yeah.
And that's what you think on Texas?
Yeah. Well, not only Texas. I mean, you had it happen in Florida. You had it happen North Carolina, Tennessee, now Texas. Texas said they got 8 years of weather, 8 years of rain within 24 hours. Did you see any of the camera footage from it? The security camera footage and stuff, Ring cameras, where you have, like, I saw a pretty decent one. There was a hill and you had a bunch of, police vehicles, and it came on, and you just watched massively, really quickly, within about 20 minutes, the water level raises, triples the level. And then you see them move back, and you see the water continue to come up, and then you see them finally drive away, and then they come back, and it had flooded everything. Bear was saying that they're almost to a point right now where they're going from rescue to recovery. We're almost at that point right now where there's anybody who is missing is no longer going to be alive.
Yeah, there were like 20-something campers that got lost.
Yeah, you had a bunch of girls at a Christian camp, but the Christian camp is, I don't remember what it's called, but it's known to be a massive flood zone. The girls went missing. There was like 22, but I heard they recovered all but two. Two were definitely drowned.
There's 81 that have been confirmed killed
from the camp.
81 total from the flood, and then 40 people are still missing.
And Bear was saying, like, because the water level's so high, when you're looking for people, you have to look up because they're in the tree. He said they've rescued people out of trees, and then there's also corpses in trees. But like in North Carolina, the Army Corps of Engineers was bulldozing entire towns They said they weren't doing it. There's a lot of footage of it actually happening. So you actually won't ever recover those bodies. But it's being said now that a year prior, these companies came in and offered buyouts to all these people, and nobody took the buyouts. And that's all those areas it happens to overlay with where those floodings were. You hear that those floods have never happened there. They don't happen. It's mountainous areas. Man-made, coincidence? I don't know. But the fact is that they are the similar areas.
You know the California fires? So we're 6 to 8 months, 6 months out of those?
There's another one going.
There's 6 months out. Only six homes have been given permits to rebuild.
I heard that was going to happen, especially on the water there, on the ocean side of that ocean area, those cliffs and stuff of Malibu and such. Those septics leach into the ocean, and that's no longer permittable. So they said they're going to have to build an entire seawall in the ground, I guess, to basically sequester the septic. They're not on city there. And they said that would take billions and billions of dollars to do, and it'll take years to get the approval. And you're not seeing anybody rebuild any of that shit.
So California will probably just give the people a payout for their land?
Well, the reality is...
A lot of them didn't have insurance.
The reality is, while the fires were still going, so before the fires have even been put out,
They were making...
Gavin Newsom was dancing on camera because he knew that the state of California was going to get that land. The state of California has already drawn up
They have a
plans for rebuilding that area as the state. So
where the Olympics are going, they've got a whole... We're doing this low-income housing shit, all kinds of stuff, man. Yeah. They have a whole fucking map of that entire area ready to go. Like they didn't have to draw that shit up. They had that motherfucker.
But California's collapsing, so none of that's going to happen. Like it's not going to happen. California is in
government-wise
on all fronts.
Every-wise.
So all fronts. So basically, when you look at California, the reason why California has been so popular, or obviously it's the weather and shit that's been popular, but the Z kids have gone to California in order to live close to the beach, right? Well, they're now all at the age, those guys are all now at the age to where they're starting families and want to buy houses. Okay. And so instead of staying in California, they're all going home to their home states. So they're taking that tax base out, which means Silicon Valley does not have the necessary tax base in order to get the free money that they have been getting from California. So even Silicon Valley is now starting to look at other states to go to. So much so that Silicon Valley, all of the malls have pulled out. They've shut down all of your pharmacy stores and shit, fucking empty. But your massive malls there, they literally defaulted. The people that own the malls pulled out and then the property got confiscated by the state. They said, you guys can have it, we're out. And they literally just pulled out. So all the anchor stores have left, and now because there's nobody that has any money there. The people that were buying and shopping there no longer go there.
Where were you guys located?
San Diego.
All the way south.
Okay.
So your money is your tax-based money is leaving California, and your immigration. So California has prospered through Mexican immigration. And over the last 10 years, again, don't think about the shit that's been happening at the border for the last 4 years as Mexicans. It's not Mexicans. It's foreign nationals that are doing that.
Somalia, Haiti.
All the Mexican traffic that used to come into California has waned off on its own because California is no longer a place of prosperity. So the reality is, if you were Mexican, you used to be able to come to the United States and create prosperity for yourself and your family. That's no longer the issue. You come to the United States and you live in abject poverty just like Mexico. So why come to California? You could do that in Mexico, right? without the fear of being deported and whatever.
Is that the reason for the influx of seeing more on the East Coast and stuff too? Just seeing it because it's cheaper.
Well, they're migrating. Yeah. They're migrating, but a lot of them aren't Mexican, right?
Yeah.
When people say Mexicans, they don't know what that is. The people picking oranges in Florida, those are Guatemalan. Yeah. Those are not from Mexico, right? Yeah. And then plus San Diego banned Rubios and cheese quesadillas, so it's fucking, you have no use for California. They didn't really.
Oh, I was going to say, holy shit. Cheese quesadillas?
They didn't really. Dude, we have recently found some really good Mexican places. Like that taco truck that used to be at the British Petroleum, we found it. It's someplace else in Jackson. Yeah. There's a couple shops in Jackson that are really good. We found a couple like really good, like San Diego Mexican places.
So California is actually what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see. California is going to keep spiraling around the toilet. It's like Gavin Newsom keeps hitting.
They're already mixed with the turds,
and it's just flushing down the toilet. Rewind this if this is the future you're watching this. If you're in the future and you're watching this, rewind it so you know that I said this on this date. Within 10 years at the longest, maybe 5 years, California is going to be red. The Democrats are going to lose California because they have destroyed all the infrastructure within the state of California. And if you historically look at any state, it doesn't matter what the state is, any state, it's always the Republicans who rebuild it from the ashes.
The work projects, like
it's always the Republicans. It's never, the Democrats never rise. Objectively, the Democrats never rise anybody from poverty or from the ruins of what they've created. A good example is New York City. New York City was a fucking cesspool. Like, Times Square was nothing but peep shows, stripper clubs, nothing. Who fixed it? Republicans. Giuliani fixed that town. Once there's money, the thing is once there's money, once you are fiscally responsible and there's money, then greedy Democrats come in and they trick people into thinking that Democrats give a shit about them. They never do.
They tell the poor people that they're going to give them a bunch of free shit.
They always, no matter, you can look anywhere within the United States. The Democratic model always destroys the profitability that the Republicans create.
You see all the squealing right now about how they're cutting all these people off Medicaid. But when you hear it, when you actually look at the actual what they're cutting off Medicaid, it's people who are gaining Medicaid illegally. Like, you're not a U.S. citizen. They just said if you're not a born U.S. citizen or a legal citizen, you don't get Medicaid. So they're cutting all those people off who should not be getting Medicaid. And that's what all the squealing and the gnashing of teeth is. Plus, you see, like, can you agree that there is a massive elevated inflow? Like, all of a sudden we're seeing all these people talking about how we need to control fireworks and we need to have these ordinances. And you see all these people squealing about people's pet dogs being loose and stuff. When you look at who's saying that, it's not the people that have been here 20, 30, 40 years. It's the people, when you look at their Facebook page on all these complainers talking about how we need to have these new laws enacted and we need to have these new ordinances out in the county. Those people have just moved here within the last 2 years. They came from someplace that had all this liberal bullshit. Because they didn't like it, they escaped, and now they want to turn it into more of the liberal bullshit.
It's like they want to keep a few pieces of what they had.
Yeah, they want to pick and choose. Well, they had to escape because the crime rate was so high. But they don't want to take care of any of the shit on their own. They want to call guys with guns to come and handle the fucking problems out in the middle of nowhere.
Democrats vote objectively. They vote to destroy their own. There's nothing that when they are voting, they're voting to destroy the area that they actually live in.
Look at all your work from home people, right? When they said during COVID and they said lockdowns and you can work from home, you had all these people that basically, if you're working from home, you don't actually create anything. You don't have a good, you don't have a service, you don't have a product, all these work from home people. That's make-believe fucking money. People use those services because they have no choice but to use those services, most of them, right? And if you turn that shit off, you don't actually have to have most of that stuff. How many of those people relocated to another state and still were employed out of California, for instance, right? And they went to Texas, or they came to Tennessee, or they went to Florida, where they had freedom, And then those companies said, hey, this work from home shit's not what it was touted to be. We need everybody in the office on Monday. Half of those people that they said, hey, you've got 2 weeks to report back to the office. Well, I've relocated. Okay, well, you be here or you don't work for us.
Yeah.
Those are make-believe fucking jobs, most of that shit.
So what's going on with Iran and Israel now?
It's a good question. What is going on with Iran and Israel? I haven't seen shit with it other than Israel continues to bomb the shit out of Iran.
Iran doesn't have the capability. Iran doesn't have the capability to do anything against
the United States for sure.
Well, they don't have anything to do anything against United States aircraft that Israelis are flying. They don't. The F-35s, even the F-15 Eagles, the Israelis have.
There's a map.
The Iranians, they can't do shit. So, again, Israel can operate in Iranian airspace unimpeded with the idea that the Iranians can do anything about it. And so, there's too much space. There's too much space between Iran and Israel. So, there's only one solution. That's fire rockets into Israel. That's the only thing Iran can do. The problem with that is every time they fire a rocket from a launch site, now there's an F-15 Eagle that drops a 250-pound bomb. So they're losing their capability to do anything.
They had
right?
thousands of rockets and maybe 1,000 launch sites, right? They were down to 250 weeks and weeks ago was the estimation. And Iran would be better off to just shut the fuck up. When the supreme leader comes out and goes, we're going to do something to the United States that'll be remembered for centuries. What do you think the United States is going to do? They're going to come over there and they're going to drop a bomb on you. Like, just shut the fuck up. But but Israel does have a map. There is a map of it that Israel's basically their future wish list. It's 20 years old or so. That they want to take Lebanon, they want to take Iran, and they want to expand their territory. Israel can't go anywhere other than up or down. But now they can because they've basically pushed all of Palestine into the ocean.
Because interesting dilemma. Because of what happened, because of what Hamas did, right?
Because of what Israel allowed Hamas to do.
Because of what Hamas did, the world. For the most part,
sees pity on.
The world has given Israel a blank check to do things that, in comparison, like if you look at what Israel has been doing compared to what Hamas did, they don't. There's no comparison, right? This is if you're saying that Hamas is, if you're saying you have to punish Hamas for what they did. Everybody believes that's correct. They have gone to a level that is way beyond punishing Hamas for what they did.
There's a lot of claims and accusations of rape, like on POWs. That's not allowed. Isn't there something about that in the Geneva Convention? Mm-hmm. Israel does not see those people as human beings under their the Talmud, right? Which, if you look into that, it's very crazy. The things said in the Talmud.
Well,
if you were not,
they don't see.
We are goyim, and that is not. That's on par with an animal, right? And there's a lot of things in that. Like anybody who's never heard of this should just type in a video about Talmud and just listen to some of the things that are said in there, and that's what they go off of. A lot of them. So they don't see anybody who's not Jewish or Israeli and Jewish as human beings. Therefore, they don't fall under the guidelines, and you're able to treat them as though they're just a filthy animal. And there's a lot of stuff coming out saying the crazy things that are being done to these prisoners and literally just being raped to death. And there's a lot of it out there, but it's kind of gone quiet. And when you mention it, the video gets demonetized, you get a strike, all kinds of crazy shit happens just for mentioning that. We very well could get a strike on this one just for that. And there's, like, when we talk about that, we'll go weeks after this video right here. When I go live, people will come on the live and go, dude, I knew you were live, but I didn't get a notification for weeks, if not months. That happens to all of us who bring this topic up. And that seems to be the big catalyst to it.
No.
And when we were talking about COVID, that's what it was. But now, if you mention Middle Eastern New Jersey,
and I'm not a Hamas supporter or
no, not at all
supporter, or I don't give
not at all. If you're protesting and carrying a Hamas flag or a fucking Palestine flag and Palestine's for gays or whatever, if just throw them into fucking the Middle East.
If you're on a university in the United States,
especially if you're here as a fucking guest,
if you're at a university in the United States and you have and you're protesting what Israel's doing, I'm all for the United States providing plane tickets to fly them all over there to do whatever they need to do to stop the Israelis. I'm all for it. Let them go. If you go ahead and go over there and see how that works out for you. The truth of it all is in every single war, doesn't matter what war it is, there's always accusations of war crimes. Let's put it this way. In every single war, there are always war crimes that are committed. Okay, that's the nature of war. That's the nature of war. We tend to focus on the ignorance of people who are not part of what's going on the ground. Like, when people talk about civilians getting killed. It's terrible. That's the nature of war. The reality is, if you want a war to end, like if you really want a war to end, it's not the military that you have to destroy. It's the will of the civilian population that supports the military. Like, that's who you have to destroy. You have to kill the civilian population that is supporting the government that is allowing that military to operate. We didn't win World War II because we killed all the German soldiers. We won World War II because we firebombed Dresden. We killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. We won World War II because we dropped 2 atomic bombs on cities that had nothing to do with... they had everything to do with it because they're supporting the government, blah, blah, blah. But again, there was no strategic...
Those weren't combatants.
Neither one of those targets were strategic targets. We didn't stop anything there. So that is the reality. And again, even, LeMay, the fucking chief architect for the U.S. Air Force, he talked about, we firebombed, most people don't realize this, but we killed more people firebombing Tokyo than we did with both atomic bombs. They firebombed Tokyo, they firebombed Dresden. He's the architect for this wholesale slaughtering of civilians. He talked about, we better win this motherfucking war or we're all going on a tribunal for war crimes. You have to force, if you want to win anything, you have to force that civilian population to bend a knee. That's just how it is. You might not like that. And dumb liberals think, all you have to do is drop a bomb on a tank and you win the war. That's not how it works. That's functionally, the reality is, we eliminated the entire Iraqi army. We didn't win that war. We didn't win Iraq. Same thing in Afghanistan. We didn't win that. We lost. Because functionally, we did not make them bend a fucking knee.
Vietnam.
Same thing. We didn't make them bend a knee.
We haven't won anything since fucking World War II.
When you have aircraft that are conducting tactical missions that their guidance is based off of a political whim of somebody in Washington, D.C., that's not war. That's not real warfare. And so that, again...
And anymore, do we even want to win the war, or do we just want to stay in?
We don't want to win the war because the people in charge can make more money running it out for 20 years.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the reason. That's kind of the reason why the deep state doesn't like Trump, because he doesn't want to have these continuous wars. But going back to something you said earlier on why is everything so peaceful, I think the reason why we have the lull that we have now is because I think the deep state is fucking...
They're scared to death.
They're on the run.
Yeah.
they're
It's like Hillary, when he said, if we don't win this war, we'll stand for war tribunals, right? Hillary Clinton said the same thing. If you don't turn this around and we don't win, we are going to swing from trees. He's going to hang us.
Yep. Talk about the big, beautiful bill
So,
and how the Republicans completely fucked America.
well, let's talk about that. But prior to that, like the Middle East shit, I think the Somalis are fucking way worse inside the United States than Iranians. Fuck, you got a ton of them in you don't got no Iranians in Congress. Do you know?
Yeah, but there's a good chance that that's all going to end.
I'm fucking hoping it's.
Oh, it's gonna end.
Have you seen? So AOC, right? Just a girl from the Bronx, kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know, she grew up fucking
Yeah.
super billionaire, like
Yeah,
wealthy shit.
She's not from the Bronx.
Do you know they run a? There's a.
But I
and
mean the reality is, I don't. When she says that shit,
Yeah, everybody knows it's bullshit.
well, again, I don't falter because I don't falter.
She's reading the script.
Not even that.
You know-
You and I just did that. You and I just did what she did.
What's that?
Oh, we said we're from San Diego. We're not from San Diego.
Where are we
I'm
from?
from fucking Santee.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha,
so
yeah.
So if somebody did the same thing to us, like
Mm-hmm.
took what we said, we were like, I'm from San Diego, because that's the easy thing, that's the recognizable thing, versus I'm from Santee, even though it's Southern California, right?
Yeah, we do that.
We do that shit all the time.
We do that to answer the question and shut it down.
and that's all she did. Because Westchester, I think it's Westchester.
You know,
she's from. It's a suburb of the Bronx.
Is it? I didn't know.
Yeah,
That. Okay,
it's
so
not-
there's an NGO or some group that hosts tryouts, right? Like a talent show. And she applied for this talent show, and she was actually one of the last 7 runner-ups. She didn't think she was going to get it, but they groomed her for this. This was a whole tryout that the DNC basically did auditions and brought all these kids in, and all these college kids and shit, and had them do these tryouts. And that is how she got put in. They had groomed her for years to go into Congress. I just watched the whole thing on it. She was even talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like the reality is if the Democratic Party does not completely change its ways, it's none of it does. They don't have anybody that can rescue them. There's nobody that can rescue them. They don't have anybody that has any good
Keep talking.
any
I'm
good
trying to
things
find
for
this.
America. So it's an interesting thing.
I'm trying to find this group. It was pretty interesting.
What group?
This talent show thing.
Oh, yeah, they do that though.
Yeah, I sent it
We
to
do
you
it.
at
Too.
one point.
The Republicans do it too. We groom our politicians. I can't remember what they call it for the Republican Party.
Okay, big beautiful bill. Did the short barrel rifle thing pass? Can you now have short barrel rifles with no consequences?
No, you still have to. You still have to apply to
Register
the ATF.
it,
You
you
still have to
just
register it. You don't have to pay the tax stamp. Basically what happened was the Republican Party just fucked America.
Who in the Republican Party?
Anybody in the Republican Party, because what they did was, what most people don't understand is the Democratic Party for the longest time has been trying to figure out how to raise the tax stamp. They've been trying to figure out how to make short barrel rifles, AOWs, and silencers more, harder to get, right? Because, again, when they did the $200 tax stamp,
It was like 20 grand.
Only rich people
Yeah.
could own them, right?
And wasn't that more about colored people?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think it was just rich people.
Okay.
And so, obviously, they weren't thinking about inflation. Inflation happens now. That $200 tax stamp is obtainable for most people, right? What the Republican Party just did was create a loophole for the Democrats. So if the Democrats ever do take back over, they can just go in there now, because basically all they did was they went like this. Here's the $200 tax stamp. The fucking Republicans basically put their finger on it and went, boop, it's zero. When the Democrats take
Now they
over,
can make it
they
10
can just
grand.
go, boop, it's now $20,000. So you're going to have a time period in the future. You're going to have a time period in the future, kind of like we had, where, when we get nostalgic and we look back, and I'll use Billy Stojak as an example. We get nostalgic and look back and I go, oh my God, I can't believe he bought a fully automatic Lewis gun out of the back of a magazine for $34 without any paperwork.
Yeah,
Right?
you guys should all read Unintended Consequences.
Without any
There's a lot of
paperwork. That's how I get nostalgic. I look back on that. In the future, people are going to look back at pre the big bill and go, oh my God, did you guys really only have to pay $200 for your tax stamp? People will look back on it and think what a miracle it was that we only had to pay $200 because the Republicans fucked us.
How many years ago did you move here?
Sheesh. I don't know. A long time ago.
Wild guess.
10 years. 8 years?
Okay.
Something like that.
So I was looking at this dude's Facebook post the other day, reading, just scrolling down through his shit. And I saw that he had anacondas, and he's like, anacondas are $150, $200, whatever. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy's got anacondas for $150, $200 because they're $1,500. When you moved here, I had anacondas. I paid $85 for them. So 10 years ago, it's that same everything. And I'm looking back, and I literally had just scrolled through 5 minutes of his content, and it's just fucking crazy how fast all that shit moves.
I will say this, though. Ammunition prices are going down.
Yeah, why? What's up with that? What do you think's going on?
Oh, because Trump is bad for business.
And they can't sell it, so they have to lower it.
Trump. Well, you have to understand everything's supply and demand, and so all the ammunition companies ramped up for a war in Ukraine, ramped up for the demand within the United States because everybody was buying ammo, including Democrats. And then because of how manufacturing works, I have to ramp up now to have it in the future. Now, I don't know in the future what is going to be going on. I'm just ramping up because the demand right now is great. So I ramp up, that ammunition gets finished, it's now the future. The war in Ukraine is a soup sandwich, and Trump is trying to get out of it. He's now the president, so nobody's worried about fucking things. So now all this ammunition is sitting on the shelf.
Yep.
And you have no choice. So like
Not only that, you have upped your employees, you've upped everything.
But we went to the gun store in Dixon we go to all the time. Last year at 4th of July, John bought a case of 9mm. And it was still in the box, but we went and bought another case of 9mm this time. And it literally, exact same case, exact same store, it's $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's the entire industry. We have companies that we're friends with, and you hear them all the time. Never put your stuff on sale. Never run a sale. It devalues your product. They're having to run sales. They have to, because people just aren't buying shit. We have fulfilled everything that our basic entry-level customers need, and now it's a lot more song and dance. That's the entire industry. Well, everything is on sale right now.
Because too many people will see that dollar sign from ramping up. So let's say you make AR-15s, or you were making AR-15s, and you're in the COVID era, where even Democrats are now buying AR-15s, and so the demand is fucking through the roof. You can only make, let's say your current manufacturing, you can only make, I don't know, 300 a month, right? But you know that you're completely out of them, and you probably could make 600 a month and sell every single one of them. Well, again, it's going to take time to hire employees, to ramp up machinery, to get to 600. And then if that demand drops off, now you have 300 extra rifles you got. So it's one of those things where it's really hard to...
Not only that, when tax time comes, if you have them on your books, you get fucking completely bent over for it.
So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I do believe that the Republicans have given the Democrats a golden ticket to just close the NFL. Meaning, right now, when people are dumb, so people are dumb in America where they're like, machine guns are illegal. No. Again, John says this all the time. Machine guns are nothing is illegal if you have the money, right?
Yeah, it's only legal for a fee.
If you can pay the fine. But again, machine guns have never been illegal. You have just had to have the money to purchase the machine gun and be able to pay the tax stamp. No, they have so it was never closed. It was limited, but never closed. They kind of have the capability to close it now. Because again, if let's say we'll just use suppressor as an example. A suppressor is really only a $200 item, fucking suppressor companies. But it's like a $200 item, right? And it's accessory. It's a nice accessory, but it's an accessory. If they put a $20,000 tax stamp on it, it's closed. No one, not even a rich guy is going to be like, be really cool if I had a suppressor. No, he's not going to do it.
Yeah, we got people running around. Kid works here, and he's like, they just took the tax stamp off. I'm getting a suppressor. I'm like, you've been saying that for 3 years. For 3 years, you're like, I'm going to get. I'm like, why didn't you just get the suppressor? You'd have it.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, it's $200. I go, $200 right now is not the same as $200 3 years ago. And you vape. You look silly. You have nothing to show for it. It doesn't improve your cognition. It doesn't improve your speed. Nothing. But you vape. You spend hundreds of dollars a month in fucking vape juice. Like, it smells like you're trying to attract little children. It makes you look like a pedophile. Like, why are you doing this stupid shit?
We over the last 2 years, or over the
and he still doesn't have a fucking suppressor.
Over the last year, really has been the I would say the glory days for buying a suppressor, because they sped up the time it took the ATF to do background checks. And again, $200 wasn't that big of a deal. So people have been buying them like crazy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know that a couple of gun rights groups are already suing the federal government.
Yeah, Gun Owners of America, NRA. There's Gun Owners of America with a bunch of other people, and then NRA with a bunch of other people.
So we'll see what happens, because so far
they said, because if you change part of it, it opens it to change all of it.
Yeah. Well, again, so far we've been winning these gun cases, but the problem is even the Supreme Court is afraid of short barrel rifles. And
why?
Because it's been one of those things that's been regulated for so long that you politician wise, so this is why the Republicans are a bunch of cowards. And even at the Supreme Court level, it's one of those things that's been regulated for so long that you don't want to be the person to deregulate it, and then a bunch of Somali pirates get short barrel rifles and take over a mall or some shit, right? Something stupid. Aren't they going
to do it? They're not going to be legal guns.
It's that corporal punishment thing. No, in the United States, we will punish. We will punish a group of non-criminals,
unless it's a car.
Non-criminals, in order to attempt to stop someone who isn't following the law anyway. So it's a ridiculous notion in the first place.
One could go fictionally. One could go so far as to say they allowed it to happen, let it happen, made it happen, just to be able to do it to the masses.
I mean, again, if you think about every mass
was on our radar,
every mass shooting that we've had in the last fucking 5 years. They've always had contact with law enforcement. They've always been on the radar. They've always had we kind of knew he was going to do that.
Haven't heard shit about that kid that shot those firefighters. Nothing more.
Yeah, because he.
You know what he used?
Some bolt action.
Shotgun.
Was it a shotgun?
It was a shotgun.
The reason why is because he was transitioning. That's why we haven't heard of anything.
So I'd heard that in the very beginning.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah,
that's why we haven't heard anything about it, because he was transitioning.
Yep, wild shit, man. Mm-hmm. Fucking wild.
That'll be. I don't know if you remember this, but when the Fort, I believe it was Fort Hood. I'm sorry if I forgot when that guy shot up the Army base, and then there was a couple other ones. The FBI actually put out a thing where they were like, do not release any information that is attached to Muslims. And so they hid the fact that a lot of those shooters were actually Muslims. They hid that information. I guarantee you they're doing the same thing right now with the trans thing. It's like, do not put that out there that they are any way, shape, or form. Because even that guy, that like when they're doing the interview, when the sheriff is doing the interview. So imagine you're law enforcement. He's doing the interview and he's like, yeah, I believe that all his social media was scrubbed before we were able to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Like who's doing this?
So they're supposed to go through counseling, right?
Yeah.
What better way to MK Ultra a group of people? Mm-hmm. Hey, we're going to put you through counseling. Let's go ahead and hypnotize you. Who knows what happened to you? Here's some chemicals to go ahead and take, and then program them, and then activate them. I mean, there's a lot of movies about that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you... I don't know if you necessarily need to do that. Like, I don't know if
They'll
you...
just do it on their own.
No, I do.
They're all on SSRIs.
Well, because you first off, you have a situation where there's obviously a dysphoria, right? If you think you're a woman or you think you're a man or what, there's a dysphoria there in the first place. And so that in itself is a mental issue that would be hard to overcome. One way or the other, that's a thing that would have to be hard to overcome. If you honestly look in the mirror, if you honestly look in the mirror and go, the body that I have is not the body that I feel I am. If you honestly do that, then that in itself is a serious problem. You have that problem, and then you go in for medication, and now you're manipulating the hormones within inside your body, right? You're manipulating the hormones within inside your body. That's creating more of a problem because, again, what they don't want to talk about in that particular genre is when you're doing that, your body, it doesn't matter that your mind is telling you that you're in the wrong body. Your body knows what body it is, and it's trying to reject everything that you're doing.
Well, I mean, look when you do have the surgery.
Yeah, it's completely trying to reject it. So you're completely trying to reject this thing. So now you're creating more mental stress. And so again, look at this. All the kids. I bet all those kids played violent video games. I'm not trying to blame it on violent video games, but you're creating this situation where the mental capacity of a person is the only way I'm going to get a solution to my problem is if I am violent. So I don't think you have to do anything. Like it literally really could be a program where they're just providing all of the infrastructure. So you're like, hey, this is the social experiment we're going to do. We're going to provide all of the infrastructure to allow this to happen, or we're going to provide as much violence and outside stimuli to allow this to happen, and just see what happens, right? See what happens. So again, none of them. You're not going to see any of these kids that aren't on tons of different medications, tons of hormone so imagine it not happening. The reality, I would say this, the reality is Americans should really be going, how come it doesn't happen more often? Like, if you think about the society we have, how come it doesn't happen more often?
Yeah, and when you look at like mass shooting only involves 3 people now to be considered real. Mass. And then you see school shootings. Mm-hmm. Everything categorized, anything on a school campus that happens is categorized as a school shooting. Mm-hmm. They say that 75% of school shootings are actually just suicides. Like, dude rolls up into a parking lot on a Saturday, there's no school in session, shoots himself in the parking lot. That goes into those numbers. That falls into those numbers. Just like when you hear gun crime, suicide falls into the gun
literally
crime
if
numbers.
If you have 2 rival gangs
mm-hmm.
that fight on the street that's parallel to a school, it's a school shooting.
If you remove gang crime and suicide, gun crime in the United States goes down to like 13% or something. Yeah. So, you've heard of Joe Exotic? Tiger King.
Yeah, okay.
Joe Exotic. I'm starting another YouTube channel. I thought I should name it John Exotic.
Yeah.
Any opinions on that?
Just understand I'm not going to have anything to do with that channel.
Why?
Because I know what it's going to involve. It's going to involve stupid animals that are going to be stupid bitey, or they're going to stink, or no. I don't want
That's
anything.
Your only opinion about John Exotic?
Yeah, because I have been around John Exotic. I've seen the fucking I'm already frowning. I'm already frowning on the Rat King.
Rat King.
the Rat King trailer. I'm already frowning on the Rat King trailer. Okay. I don't want anything to do with
trailer. Makes it sound like a mobile home.
I don't want anything to do with John Exotics.
Describe the rat trailer.
Oh, I don't understand.
You're already frowning on the rat trailer.
Yeah, because I know it's going to have. There's probably so what is it? What is it? A 10 by 12?
16 by 12.
16 by 12 trailer or shed really? Yeah, shed.
Describe the appearance of it.
I mean, it's nice. It looks nice, but it's going to smell like rats, and there's probably going to be. Here's the problem. It's rats, and so within a month, there's going to be 7,000 rats living in there, and eating and shitting, and I don't want nothing to do with it. And then here's the other thing that people don't understand is if John has 7,000 rats, and he's feeding them and giving them water and taking care of them, because he does. Again, it's not just like he's throwing bread into a building and there's rats in there. They're all in cages and well taken care of with automatic feeders and all that shit. But then that also means that he's going to have a snake big enough to eat a whole rat. And I don't want anything to do with his fucking 25-foot anaconda bald python death dealer that he's going to have like 9 of them. They'll all be different colors.
I think you're selling me short.
They're all going to be different colors, and again, you just frowned on snake trailer, but you had a snake trailer with 3,000 fucking snakes in it,
and it was very ghetto. It was. It was.
No, it was still the trailer itself was ghetto.
Nowadays we call it retro. We could probably sell that mobile home for a lot of fucking money. It's got that whole sunroom on the front.
Did you see the guys that blew the mobile home up with 400 pounds of tannerite?
No.
Yeah.
Is there some legality about how much tannerite you can put together in one load? Or is it state dependent?
You know what? I don't know how they regulate that. Because again, tannerite in itself is, because it's a binary explosive, tannerite itself is non-regulated.
But this is how it's going to get regulated.
Well, what I'm saying is it's non-regulated. It is technically regulated the minute you mix it.
The only reason it hasn't become regulated is because it hasn't harmed somebody not involved with it. It's all been people who were willingly there happening.
I mean, it's not a...
The kid next door is like, I want to put 50 pounds... They have an old house over there. He's like, we want to put a bunch of tannerite in there. And blow. You can't do it. I go, debris is going to leave the property and land in a property that's not willing to be a participant. I go, you can't do it. I go, you should literally just burn it down, light it on fire, and then we'll dig a hole and we'll just bury it. I know you want to do this thing, but you can't do the thing. You're not set up. I can't do 50 pounds of tannerite here.
They did these guys that blew up this RV, they're they must be a private dump, but it was a real dump, big tractors and all that shit. And because of, I don't know what hurricane it was, but a trailer as big as the one that you have got brought there and left. And people had just thrown all the trash inside the trailer. And so we got to bury this trailer. Why bury it the way it is? And so they drug it out to the center of the dump and they put 400 pounds of tannerite in it and blew it up.
Was it cool?
It was pretty cool. It blew the shit out of it. That's for sure.
So no other problems with John Exotic?
I mean, that's it. That's the only thing is I'm not going to feed, clean, carry, wash, do anything to do with these goddamn animals.
You realize he just changed it, though, to I'm not going to have anything to do it. Now he's listing what he won't do.
I like it. I'm deathly afraid of snakes, and I'm all in.
You know, this motherfucker asked me...
You're a weirdo.
Do you know he asked if he could hold a snake the other day?
I'm all in.
Okay. Be all in. I'm not.
Can you picture that?
I'll hold the camera for you.
Next thing you know, he'll be riding ostriches.
I'm going to be the rat.
See, this is what's going to happen. John's going to give you a little teeny snake. And it's going to crawl around on your hand and everything. And you're going to be like, oh, this is cute. And then before you know it, you're going to have a fucking 26-foot ball python choking your fucking life out of you, trying to stuff your head in his mouth.
No, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, no.
Not doing that.
No. Nothing. Well, you do have the. Wait a minute. You already have the.
Burmese python.
No, forget the snakes. Snakes are dumb.
Emus.
You got the emus. How are the emus doing? I haven't seen the emus in
They're
a minute.
huge. They're as big as Amanda.
Already.
No, they're up past my waist.
Yeah, I got the emus. You won't. You'll play with snakes, but not the emus.
Hannah was like, "Hey, do you want to go out of town this weekend? When we go out of town, do you want to go to a bird sanctuary?" And I was like, "The hell! It's like you don't even know me after 2 years, you know."
So you're going to a bird sanctuary?
That's where she wants to
Can
go.
you bring me one? I want parrots.
Yeah.
I want big macaws.
You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. You're deathly afraid. You're deathly afraid of birds, and you're still going to the bird sanctuary.
He's in love.
Even after you told her that you're afraid.
Yeah.
Which means she has no regard for you whatsoever.
He had her fill out a form when he met her.
She doesn't care about you at all.
He had her fill out a form. He's like,
to a bird sanctuary.
give me a list of all the things you won't do. And then when she wants him to do something, he's just like, okay, I want these 2 things you won't do. You're going to do those. And I'll go to the bird sanctuary. He's running out of shit she won't do.
Let's hope that's the case. But yeah, just no regard for your safety or well-being whatsoever.
You know what else he's even more scared of? Butterflies.
No. Bullshit.
The butterfly sanctuary.
What? Wait. Is there something that is there something that Hannah's deathly afraid of?
Fairies. Tinkerbell.
The dark is the only
The
thing
dark.
The dark.
She hates the dark.
The dark. So you're like, okay, we're going to go to the bird sanctuary, but you got to stand here with me in the dark for 15
Although
minutes?
I took her 6 miles into a cave, and she was completely fine with no lights on. So
What?
I don't think she's scared of the dark.
What were you doing in a fucking cave,
Dude.
6 miles with no lights on?
Dude, Tennessee and Kentucky.
No, I know.
The cave systems. The caves. So this dude, they've locked off all the caves, okay, because there's this bat fungus. This dude's friend is the head of the conservatory for all the caves, and he can go to all the caves. So when you leave, you really need to sterilize your shoes. Or you really should just get rid of your shoes at that point from cave to cave. But he has access to go to all the caves.
He's going in there in shorts and a fucking...
shorts.
They go in shorts because it's stable temperature.
You're a bat fungus.
Dude, he'll be
Shorts and no
10 miles underground showing you the waterfalls and shit. Dude, Lookout Mountain, there's is it Ruby Falls? What's up there?
Ruby Falls is up there. Yeah.
Rock City, Ruby Falls. You know, you go in there and they've got this whole massive, dude, it's huge. This waterfall lit. They got a restaurant down there and stores and shit inside there.
Nice.
You can go get a cheeseburger.
But everybody knows when you get to your destination in a cave, you turn off the lights, and whoever turns them on first is the loser.
Oh, is that what everybody knows?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that?
So the game that my friends would play is the guy with the flashlight. When you're in Danger 7, that was it. That was Danger 7. When you're in Danger 7, the guy with the flashlight, usually halfway through Danger 7, will turn the flashlight off, and you can hear him running through the tunnel. And so now you're standing with your other buddy, and you're like, no flashlight, and you know that he just ran halfway down the tunnel.
Is Danger 7 a condition or a location?
It was a location. It was a sewer drain that came off the. It was a.
So it's big enough to run through.
Yeah, it was big enough to.
Okay.
It was big. Well, I mean, not today. We were young.
Thank God we never had flash floods in California.
Yeah.
Like we'd have all been dead because we spent a lot of time in the sewers.
There's nothing funner. There's nothing funner than going into Danger 7, because Danger 7 was it wasn't a sewer. It was a gutter offshoot, right? So it went into this area in Santee where all the excess flood water would go into.
Ends up in the San Diego River.
And so
basin.
you would go through Danger 7, and there was probably, it was like 4 miles of no light. And then you would have these smaller offshoot tunnels that would go to the streets. And then you would have your gutters on the streets.
And those would go smaller, and some of them would come up to the street drains, and some would come up to manhole covers.
Yeah, so those would go to the street. And so you would go through Danger 7, and then you would find your neighborhood, right? You go find your neighborhood. This is probably where, what's that
No wonder
clown,
all you guys
It.
got taken when you were kids.
That-
You're
that-
popping out of sewers.
That show Clown It, because we would go to the neighborhood, and then you would wait for one of your friends to walk by, and you'd be like, "Rah!" out of the gutter and shit. They'd
If
be
you
like,
guys want to check it out, look at like a topographical map. I lived at 10910 Hijos Way, HIJOS, 10910 Hijos Way in Tirasana. Look that up. And then look at the Jack Murphy Stadium. And we could go all the way from the end of my street right there, which was, there's only 6 houses on that side of the street. Go down 6 houses. I could get in the storm drain and go completely underground all the way to Jack Murphy Stadium. And I could also go over into Kearney. We could go all of that underground for hours and hours at a time. And they had once you got all the way out by the stadium, there was a whole population of African clawed frogs. There was albino crayfish inside the tunnels. Crazy, crazy shit. And the main tunnel system is as big around. It's it's at least 10 feet around. Like you could drive a vehicle through here. Couldn't turn a vehicle. It gets smaller and smaller. But the last time we went, before we left San Diego, I took Cody down there. And it was so full of sediment, we had to crawl on our bellies to get out the last, I don't even know how long, thousands of yards probably. It was fucking nasty.
That's my biggest fear in caves is flash flooding every time we go down.
Yeah.
Because
that's how all that sediment got there.
Yeah,
it's wild. So I thought John Exotic, and Amanda's like, you can't do John Exotic. And I thought John Exotic just because of the stigma of being Joe Exotic and all the crazy shit he was doing. All the people would talk shit that don't like us, which would be a bonus. And then people that do like us, they're not going to care what the name is. So that's a bonus.
Well, I told it to Hannah last night. I said, what do you think on John Exotic for this? And she was like, it's perfect marketing.
Yeah.
She was like, it's perfect marketing.
Yeah, I think so.
Again, if you play off of the whole Joe Exotic part and you're completely...
I was curious what happened to him, so I put in Joe Exotic on YouTube, and the first video came up was a phone call interview. He had called, I guess you can call from prison now and do fucking podcast interviews and shit. He did a 30-minute interview with a dude. I don't remember who he was. He has an enormous channel that has nothing to do really with animals. But he was very surprised that he hasn't been pardoned yet, because Trump Jr. had interviewed him. Joe Rogan's interviewed him. A lot of huge names have interviewed Joe Exotic. And they're like,
what's he in jail for?
So everybody thinks he's in jail for taking out a hit on Carol Baskins, like going to assassinate Carol Baskins. And that did come up. But the real thing he's in jail for is he had some tigers, and tigers live to about 14 years old. And he euthanized a couple of tigers that were like 20-something. They were very geriatric. And what he said that the whole trial revolved around was him disposing of these tigers on the property. He dug a hole with a tractor and buried them, and people lost their fucking minds. That was the catalyst that got them in the door. Carol Baskins, though, who was like his arch enemy in this show, she was paying people $5 for every report, and every time they would report his page, she had some way that she was financially incentivizing people to basically get his pages taken down, get his shit fucked up. And they're like, well, what about all the meth? He's like, I don't use meth. He goes, I've tried meth. He goes, there's plenty of people in the crew that were doing meth. I didn't give them meth. I was not using meth. He goes, I run a whole zoo. Like, I have a whole conservatory. But the whole Carol Baskins thing, the dude who oversees all the shit it falls under USDA. So you have under Fish and Wildlife, falls under USDA apparently. Like to breed exotic animals here, I have to have a USDA breeder's permit, and they come and they have this stipulation on how many animals per cage, how far the cage is, drainage, stuff like that. To sell animals, to breed animals for sale, you have to have this USDA permit. Well, the dude that runs the USDA or whatever is on the board of directors for Carol Baskin's thing. And they basically gave all tiger ownership and breedership in the United States to 2 NGOs. So all these people that have all these animals, if they produce them, they can't sell them. There's a bunch of shit around it. And it's to hear him talk, you're like, holy shit, I didn't know any of this stuff. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but he swears he was completely fucked. He did not take a hit out on Carol Baskins. Season 2, they filmed apparently season 2 of The Tiger King without him. And Carol Baskins had a dude that she went and vandalized all his property, left his doors open, fucked this whole place up on video. There's video of her doing it. I've seen it. And then the hitman, she hired a hitman to kill him. And on season 2, the hitman was there at his place. He's like, yeah, I was supposed to kill him right here. And then he didn't show up. And he's like, my attorney has tons and tons of evidence showing that I am not guilty, and they just haven't. It hasn't gone before anybody to retry it.
Interesting.
Now, him being absolutely fucking nuts didn't probably help, but I mean, when you saw Tiger King also, the Tiger King that everybody saw the pieces of or saw the video of, he didn't film that. They took footage and cut a bunch of shit together. Same thing with like the dude riding the elephant. When Joe Rogan interviewed that dude, he's like, they just took footage that was on the internet and popped me in there. He said, I've never actually even met Joe Exotic. I met him one time. He needed some caging for some animals while he was in town, like at a circus or something. And he's like, I met him at a restaurant, talked to him about 15 minutes, realized I didn't want to be involved. He said, I've never been to his place. The footage of me on the elephant, that's at my zoo. He's like, I was an animal trainer for Disney. I trained all the animals that were in all the Disney movies. He said, I've never even met this dude other than 15 minutes. He goes, they chopped all that shit together to make it look like I was involved in that.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty wild. So you've given us a list of things you're not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to do?
Nothing.
Nothing. You're not even.
No.
Will you sit down and do a podcast about the animals?
If you go on vacation,
Don't call you.
If you and Amanda go on vacation and you're like, who's going to feed these carnivorous reptiles? It's not going to be me. And I'm not going to supervise the idiot who puts his hands in all these cages. No.
The beauty of these animals, if I had to go away on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I could just feed them on Monday.
Yeah, well.
Short of it lighting on fire, I don't think we need anything.
Okay, all right, you say that, but I have had my hand in cages before.
By choice.
No, never by choice. It was always because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a good friend to John, and I'm gonna feed these fucking stupid snakes that immediately attack you as soon as you open the door. Don't ever go for the big juicy mouse you have in your hand, but love to go after your fingers.
Come here, Mitch. You know what we were never doing back then, and I don't know why. When Chris came to work for me, he's like, you got to use these tongs. I'm like, I've never used tongs.
Yeah, I remember that too. And
he's like, you get bit all the time.
I remember you saying, I've never used tongs.
I would have a set of 6-foot grill tongs.
We have a 30-inch pair of tongs, and we got a 24-inch pair of tongs.
I'll bring my own 72-inch ones.
Well, you're not going to have to feed. I mean, we could do a day. We could do a day where Brandel feeds everything.
I'm going to get a mouse and I'm going to rub it all over your camera.
I'm going to get a fire burn suit.
We have Freedom Breeder racks that have a 30-inch drawer in them. And there's 3 drawers by 10, right? They hold 30 drawers or whatever. And I remember I had in there was a couple boas in there, and there was some bull snakes. And the bull snakes they're very food aggressive. These animals, when you open the drawer, they know they're about to get fed, so they fly forward. And at one time, we had animal control, or we had the wildlife authority guys come over, heard we had venomous animals. I'm like, I'm going to open all these drawers. I know some of you guys probably don't like snakes. You should probably stay outside. I go, these animals are very food responsive. When I open the drawer, they are going to come out and fly out of the drawer. And they're like, this guy's full of shit. And the first time I opened a drawer and the snake came out, 2 of them dudes left. They didn't come back inside. But I always knew, feeding these 3 animals, that you were probably going to get bit. Or they would target and hit the hand. So I always had a glove on. When I would open that, I would have the glove. And sometimes they'd hit the glove. I would just slide out of the glove, close the drawer back. And then the next day, I would tap on the drawer, let them know I'm coming, open it up, and then take the glove out.
So you keep doing it with different gloves?
Yep.
And there's just a pile of 30 gloves in there?
Yeah, well, there's several pairs of gloves in there. But the snakes will bite through those gloves. But they would hit, like the gloves were big and they were loose. So if they did hit the glove, I would just leave the glove in there.
Okay, so why haven't they invented something that's very easy to do? It's like my cat doors. All my doors in my house, I've put on these little cat doors. What? The cat can go in, but it can't go out. Because when it hits the door, the flap opens, it goes in. So push the little rat through the door, and the snake...
One way rat doors?
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't need to.
It's easy to do.
I don't know. Sounds expensive. When you got 600 cages.
It's like one of those little balls, like a little hole you put a ping pong ball through or whatever.
Got it.
Like a little foosball.
All right, well... There's no snake house yet.
Yeah,
is.
there's a damn rat house over there, so snakes are not far behind because you ain't keeping rats because
Do you
you
see
like
the snake?
rats.
Do you see the snakes in this building?
In this one right here?
Yeah,
I haven't looked
there's no snakes in here.
because this is the only area I can see.
There's no
here
snakes in here. There's no
Okay.
animals in here.
yet.
I've done that for you.
No, that's a lie.
It's all for you.
Oh, I
That's a
could
lie.
easily just fill half of this up with animals.
And I know you will secretly start doing it.
No, I
Yeah, you
not.
will.
Am I?
He's gonna have a curtain one day when
Yeah,
we're walking.
uh-huh.
Hey, just don't go behind the curtain. If that's cool.
It's just going to be like it's going to start with one rack behind those racks over there.
No.
There'll be one rack.
He's gonna be like, "Oh man, don't mind in there. I just had to put those in there because we're
Yeah,
trying to build this
that's
up."
the way
Dude,
it's gonna start.
there has been no animal stuff in here at all. There's not going to be. All right, I got to pee.
John's got to pee. And
We're
we've
going to
already-
go eat
our-
lunch and do question and answer for members. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys next week.
What?
SOE_reptiles is my Instagram page if you want to check it out.
And don't forget to get the July 4th promo, even though it'll be too late.
Actually, it's probably still going. The July 4th promo is pretty badass.
Yeah, but we'll be going by the time this
Did
airs.
you read the comments?
Uh-uh.
It's fun, dude. They loved it. They love those videos. See you guys.